The outrage in the Muslim world over caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad. Any depictions of Muhammad are offensive to the faithful. But in many Western nations, freedom of expression is a sacred right as well, including the freedom to express offensive ideas. Well, for some perspective on this, I spoke with columnist and author Christopher Hitchens and Ahmed Yunus with the Muslim Public Affairs Council. This is a debate. They do not pull any punches. And we began by talking about the decision of many media outlets, including CNN, to pixelate the images of Muhammad.
Now, I know, as well as you do, that you have not done that in order to avoid sparing the hurt feelings of my fellow guest. You've done it because you're afraid of retaliation and of intimidation. Now, I'd like to ask him and anyone else who agrees with him who's watching, is that the relationship they want to have with the free press? Because if we have to use this stupid word offensive, those of us who believe in the Enlightenment and the Constitution and the First Amendment are very much offended by this mad, babyish conduct. But we don't go out and kidnap the nearest Muslim we can find and take him hostage till someone apologizes.
Okay.
We don't violate diplomatic immunity. We don't, which is one of the most precious things in the international community, much more precious than the right of Muslims not to have their feelings hurt. The whole thing is a scandal, and we're all running scared from it.
Okay, let's let Ahmed Yunus. Ahmed, jump in here. I know you want to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not about hurt feelings. It's about strategic discourse. The people that we see on TV are... well, hold on, Christopher. The people that we see on TV are less than 1% of the Muslim masses. The gravamen of the discussion here is the vast majority of Muslim moderates that are offended from their role in a post-9/11 and in a conflict-oriented situation, which is at the apex of counterterrorism, at the apex of an engagement, of a discussion of hearts and minds. Of course, freedom of expression stands, and no one is asking the Danish government to stifle expression. But
yes,
freedom of expression,
yes,
hold on, Christopher, freedom of expression and the responsibilities of discussion, the responsibilities of those with power and privilege to ensure that there is comity between different groups, a belated response by the government, and then a continuing of republishing and reprinting these cartoons. We have freedom of expression here in the United States, but the president and the major media have chosen not to engage. The Pope believes in freedom of expression, but he has condemned these cartoons. It's about strategic
Christopher, I want to let Christopher in here. Christopher, I mean,
what is this babble? The State Department has said that it apologizes and thinks these things are offensive, and it's done so without, as far as I know, any permission from the American people to say that we take that view. I'm glad to hear you say it's only 1% of the Muslim world that takes this opinion. In that case, why are we treating the leaders of these lynch mobs and bullying gangs as if they were representative of your religion?
That's a very good question.
And why is it that we can't get condemnation so easily or at all when, for example, Shia mosques and funeral processions in Iraq are blown up by Muslim fascists?
Look, Christopher,
Isn't that sacrilege to you?
Ahmed Yunus, jump in.
The vast majority of Muslims condemn attacks on Shia communities, condemn attacks on Christian communities in Muslim countries.
Name one.
The Council on American-Islamic Relations sent a delegation to Iraq to try to release Jill Carroll. We have done the same with Margaret Hassan. We engage continuously.
Hostage trading.
We were against the Taliban.
Okay, wait a minute. I want to jump in here for both of you.
Christopher, we don't need Islamic groups in America doing
Christopher, I got to jump in here because the point is made here, and this comes up over and over again, that when we talk about the most radical of Muslims, they're the ones who get the attention. The whole of the faith gets painted with this brush by the kinds of pictures we're showing today of burning buildings. As awful as it is there a fair point being made here that this clearly is not representative?
Absolutely, and if we look at
Christopher, please.
Well, that's for Muslims to decide. If they want to condemn this, they can, but actually a lot of Muslim governments have instead, and authorities, have instead joined the condemnation of the cartoons and urged the Danish government to bring pressure on the free press in Denmark.
Because
it's absolutely outrageous.
They are opportunists, state actors and non-state actors that are taking this opportunity to pursue their ends is a different discussion. What we are discussing now is why would we offend the very identity of 1.2 billion people who are needed for us to end this era?
Ahmed,
that's not the question. That's not the question at all.
Why are there anti-Semitic cartoons published all the time in certain Muslim press and Arab press? Let's talk about the anti-Semitic cartoons that are there all the time, and you don't see this kind of reaction from Jews who may be deeply, deeply offended.
You're right. We are all offended, not just Jews. We are all offended when there are anti-Semitic cartoons, and these dictatorships that use the other to galvanize the bases within their countries to support them in their efforts are acting contradictory to the interests of Muslims. We condemn that type of anti-Semitic behavior. We condemn it when it's against any other community, be it by Muslims.
That wasn't
like
the question. That wasn't the question.
This is the same Europe
that wasn't what you were being asked.
This is the same Europe that had a genocide against Muslims, the largest genocide since the Holocaust. We have got to be strategic. We have got to ensure that we are not negligently bolstering the haters that are finding excuses.
Okay, Christopher,
I'm not just a potted plant here. He wasn't asked that question. He was asked why, when Jewish people or Christians, or the largest, in my opinion, the most important group in the world, those of us who don't believe in religion and claim the rights of the Enlightenment, when we're offended, you were asked, why don't we take the occasion to go and set fire to embassies of democratic countries or kidnap civilians? That's what you're being asked. And you're still claiming Muslims have a special right to be offended, and that is very offensive indeed.
Absolutely not. I am claiming that Muslims have an equal right to find human dignity in the way that they are treated in society. And Christopher, if you feel that there is an attack against you, you have the right to respond. That is the same freedom of speech that you're saying. The Muslims around the world...
Without your permission, with your interruption, that's what I'm doing now.
Okay, gentlemen, time out here for a second. Time out. Christopher, I want to go back to the first point you made, and that is, how newspapers and news organizations make their decisions about this. And you mentioned, CNN's decision to pixelate these. You're right. I mean, partly based on fear of reprisals against our staff, but also partly based on fear of offending. And I want to put it to you this way. I mean, do non-Muslims have any obligation, in your view, to be respectful of this aspect of the Muslim faith and to make an extra effort not to offend?
Look, I'm not asking for the right to slaughter a pig in a mosque, or to defecate on a Quran, or anything of this kind. I am saying, though, that religion makes very large claims for itself. Islam claims that it is the total solution to all human problems, and
this is not about Islam.
And that the sooner that it's imposed on everyone, the better. Well, that's a point of view, but it can't. If it's going to make such claims, it has to drop the demand that it be immune from criticism, and especially from satire. To many of us, the claims of the Prophet Muhammad, or his claim to be a prophet, are absurd.
Muhammad,
and of course we have the right to do that, just as we have the right to represent unchaste nuns and child-raping priests and the other people who also claim a special right because they claim that their own bigotry is divine.
Ahmed Yunus, why is it so different for the Muslim faith?
This is a fabricated discussion. The issue here is not the freedom of the West and the isolation of the Muslim world. One of the primary goals of Sharia, as studied in classical discourse, is the protection of the products of the mind and the protection of freedom of speech. That's not what we are addressing. We are not asking anyone to follow Islamic law. No one in the world is saying that there should be an inhibition against this type of speech, but what we're saying is those with the ability to move discussions forward for peace, forward for an ability to see each other, they have a responsibility to act. It is not babble, Christopher Hitchens.
Babble. This is not the first time.
These types of cartoons...
This isn't the first time.
These types of cartoons...
The religious leader of Islam called for the murder in his own name for money of a novelist living in England who wasn't a Muslim.
Who is this religious leader of Islam? We are Muslims, sir. We all represent ourselves. Our tradition has been clear.
The Ayatollah Khomeini did not consider you as equal, let's say.
The tradition of the Prophet is clear. Comity between all people, religious freedom for all people, even those that do not believe in God. We are the vicegerents of that matter.
We have to leave it there, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
They claim a special right, and they claim it at gunpoint and by force.
No, Christopher, that's the last word, gentlemen. Christopher Hitchens and Ahmed Yunus.
Offensive.
Both of you, it's been spirited, it's been interesting, and it's going to continue. That much is to be sure. Thank you both for being here.